Okay, hey guys. So yesterday we did intro to SOHCAHTOA. SOHCAHTOA. So sine, cosine, tan, and remember this is just like a little cheat sheet to the ratios that we learned yesterday. So sine is always the opposite length over hypotenuse. Cos is always adjacent over hypotenuse, and tan is the opposite over adjacent. So yesterday was just a little intro, and today's also gonna be a little intro, kind of to wrap up our intro. So I just wanted to split it up, just so you guys really had time to process this new concept. Okay, so yesterday you set up ratios, and you should have did that in your assignment. So remember, if we're looking at sine m, we remember SOHCAHTOA right here. So sine m would be our opposite length, which is always opposite of the angle, so that would be 16, over our hypotenuse, which is always across this 90-degree angle, right? So that would be 34, and that's it. Like, we are just setting up ratios. We didn't do any calculations in this part. And then we moved on to actually finding the decimal for this. So what you did on your calculator, depending if you're on a phone or a calculator, is for your phone, you would hit 12 and then sign, and you would get a calculation. For your calculator, if you did use the ones in my classroom, you would have to hit the number and then press sign. So that's, I don't know why there is a discrepancy, but there is. And then we did the reverse of that. So we had a decimal, and we found the degree. We found our missing degree, all of these guys, right? And what you did is you had to do the inverse, because you got to think about it like this. You want to bring this sign to the other side. You just want this A by itself. And so in order to bring anything over to the other side that we've learned before, is you got to do the inverse. You got to do the opposite. So the opposite of sine in this case is you got to hit this number, then you got to hit second sign on your calculator or your phone calculator, whichever one. And then you should have went through a assignment. And today you're going to be going through an assignment, but today we're actually going to be finding missing sides of these right angle triangles and missing angles today. And you'll be doing, I think, about 8 questions for your assignment. It's going to be online this time. It's going to be a form that will have a link on the blog. And so you'll be able to click on that link, take you directly to the assignment. You'll do the work, and then you'll put the answer in. I obviously know you did the work in order to get the answer, so I'm not too worried about that, okay? So let's get into it. Let's actually put all this part that we learned yesterday, all these ratios and all this, and actually solve for sides and angles. So the first part is let's solve for some sines. So in this case, we're given an angle and we're given a length. And so now we got to figure out which function to actually use. Oh, my cat just attacked me. So we got no, I gotta stop. No. Oh. SOHCAHTOA. Okay. So this is our cheat sheet. We're either going to use sine, cos, and tan in this case. So let's figure that out. So we gotta look at the information given. Okay. So if we were going to use sine, do we have the opposite length of this angle? Well, no, so we can't use it. Automatically disqualified. Cos, do we have the adjacent length? Yes, we do. And are we looking for the hypotenuse? Yes, we are. So we will be using cos equals, I'm just going to go cos A, even though we know it. Cos A equals opposite. Always write your formula, even though you might know it. Opposite over hypotenuse. So our cos 42, I just used A for angle, equals our opposite length. Oh, wow. I hope you were like, I'm sorry, but you did that wrong. It's not opposite, that's sine. It is adjacent right here. SOHCAHTOA. So cos 42, I'm going to get cleaner on these, equals our adjacent length, which is 20, over our hypotenuse, which in this case, our hypotenuse is x. Okay, so now we have to get into some algebra that we might not have done in a really long time, but the trick is when your variables on the bottom, we actually, it's not just an easy either multiply or divide problem. It becomes actually a little bit more complicated, so we actually have to bring this x to the other side and then bring the cos 47 to the other side, unfortunately. Okay, so in order to bring this x, right now it's dividing to the other side, we got to times by x, and what you do to one side you got to do the other, so we got times by x on this side. So what we're left with is x times cos 42 equal to 20. Okay, now we can actually get x by itself, because we couldn't really bring over that 20 without like creating problems. So we brought over the x, and now we actually have to get rid of this cos that we brought it to and bring it over to the other side. And how we're going to do that is, right now they're timing, so we just got to divide by cos 42. That cancels out, and what you do to one side, you have got to do to the other. My cat is freaking out. Okay, so our answer is going to equal this on a calculator. So you punch it in, 20 divided by 42 cos. Make sure you put brackets around here. And this is going to equal 26.91. I don't know if it was centimeters or anything, there wasn't any units. But this length is 26.91. Okay. So hopefully you understood all that scribble. And let's try it again. I'm going to put a color here. Boom. And let's go back to black. Okay, so now we got to do that same thing. We got to figure out which function are we using. Are we using sine? Are we using cos? And are we using tan? Sorry, Monty's going to bed, so hopefully you can hear him. So your first step, always start off with where your angle is and figure out what you have. So we have our angle and we have our adjacent. This is our adjacent. Okay, now what do we want? So we want our opposite length. So we don't want anything to do with the hypotenuse in this case. So the only one that deals with opposite and adjacent is our tan. So we're going to be using tan. So our tan A, our tan angle, is equal to opposite, OPP over, I'm just going to put adjacent. SOHCAHTOA. Okay. So now this is the part where we're going to fill in our information. Tan 63 in this case is equal to our opposite, which is we don't know. So we're going to put it x over 8. Now, hey, this is an easier problem with this. If you notice our x is on the top, that is actually tremendously easy, because all we got to do is bring everything else to the other side. In this case, we don't care about this 8. We don't want it. We want it on the other side. And remember, the fundamental rule I hope you remember from my math classes is that in order to get anything to the other side of this equation, you have to do the opposite operation. So right now this 8 is dividing. So the opposite of that is timesing. So these are going to cross out. Perfect. We're just left with x, but we got to do it to the other side. And our result after that is 8 times tan 63 equals x. So whatever we get on our calculator. So what you're going to do is you're going to punch in 63, hit tan, multiply that by 8. Okay, and you should end up with 15.7. Play around with your calculator if you don't get that. Okay. So this length we know to be 15.7. Perfect. Hey, I'm getting better with writing on this. Alright, I really want you to pause the video. I would actually hope that you've been pausing it, but I didn't tell you, so I'm going to let it slide. But pause the video and try to do this one on your own. I think you can assume which function you're going to use, but try to solve it on your own. See how far you get, okay? So this case, we got to see where our angle is right here, and we got to see which lengths we got. So we got opposite is what we want, and we have the hypotenuse. So we got to go up to our SOHCAHTOA, and the ratio that deals with opposite and hypotenuse is sine. So first step, sine A, that was a really sad A, side angle equals opposite over hypotenuse. Okay, so now we can fill in all the information we know. So sine 21 equals, our opposite length is x, we don't know it. Ew, we have one of these problems. Disgusting. And our hypotenuse is 12 in this case. So it'd be awesome if I could like shift this down, but I don't think I can. So now, again, in this case, oh wait, our variables on the top, these are the ones we like. Look, all we have to do is just bring over this 12, and remember, in order to bring anything over to the other side, you have to do the opposite over it's doing right now. It's dividing, so we have to times by 12. It's going to cancel. What you do to one side of this equation, you have to do the other. Those are two rules I hope that you learn and remember for the rest of your life, right? So now we have 12 times sine, look at how nice this writing is, equals to x, because those canceled out. So again, you punch on your calculator. Please punch in 21, hit sine, times by 12. And what you should get is 4.3 equals x. Okay? If you didn't get that, please play around with your calculator. If you're really stuck, just ask me, shoot me an email. Alright, so those are those problems. Again, I want you to try to solve these on your own, so pause the video. But for the angles, it's just no different. We're just going to be doing one extra step each time, but you still will be using SOHCAHTOA and TOA to figure out what to do. So always figure out, you were looking for your angle now, and figure out the sides you have. So you have your opposite, and it's just across on the 90 degrees, you have your hypotenuse. So which function uses opposite and hypotenuse? Well, that's sine. So sine angle equals our opposite over hypotenuse. I just shortened it to O over H. So sine, instead of A, I'm going to put X now because that's what we're looking for. Equals our opposite over hypotenuse is 12 over 20. Okay, so now in this case, what I want you to do is I want you to get this decimal on your calculator. It's going to be easier solving in the long run. You don't have to do it. You can do it all at once, and I'll show you how to do it after. But I really like to get this decimal on your calculator first. So right now it's sine x equals, oops, gotta delete this decimal, 0.6, okay? And I just divide these two numbers. Now if you notice, this problem literally goes back to these problems we did right here. And all you have to do is take that decimal and second sign. So that's what we're going to do here. So x equals, so we need to get rid of this sign. The only way to do it is to take the sine inverse. They will cancel out. What you do to one side, you got to do the other. So you got to take the sine, sine inverse of 0.6. So again, on your calculator, I hope you're pressing 0.6, second function sine, and you should get this number. If you don't, please play around with it, but you should get 37, and that's in degrees because we're looking for the degrees. So this is 37 degrees right there. Okay, so again, before I do this next one with you, please pause the video and try it on your own. Alright, let's move on to the next one. We only have two more, and then your assignment again will, remember, be online. And then I can see it right away and maybe even message you if I see any errors or something like that. So our first step, find your degree, find your your missing angle that we're trying to find and figure out what angles we have. So right now, right off the bat, we have our hypotenuse. It's right across our 90 degrees. And since this length is touching our angle, that is our adjacent length. So we go back to SOHCAHTOA and we have to figure out which one has adjacent and the hypotenuse. Well, that is cos. So we know that cos A equals adjacent over hypotenuse. So in this case, cos x equals 3 over 12. Now, I'm going to show you the other way on how to do this on your calculator, okay? So I'm showing you two ways right now, okay? So we got a cos inverse, right, to get rid of this cos. And we're left with x equals, but we are left with, because what you do to one side, you gotta do the other, we're left with that cos inverse of 13 over 12. Not 13, my bad. 3 over 12. So what you can do on your calculator, and you'll get the answer, you should get the answer, is you put a bracket, go 3 divided by 12, bracket, then go second cos. And you should end up with 76 degrees, okay? If you didn't end up with, you did something wrong and you can calculate it. So those are the two things. You can either get this decimal, then second cos it, or you can just punch it in all at the same time. I will let you pick which method you want to do, okay? Alright, we're going to do one more question. You're going to do the assignment that's on the blog on a purple, it's like a purple form. And then you just put in the answers. You'll have pictures and you'll just put in the answers. The form is going to